Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today's subject is Quarrels, Part 1. From the Mother. You cannot expect the whole world to be at your service and everything to happen as you fancy it to be more convenient for you. You must stop quarreling with everybody and about everything. Otherwise, how can you expect to make any progress in yoga? Keep this attitude. Never side with anybody, nor take up any personal quarrel. Think only of the divine peace, harmony, light, and happiness, and become more and more their purified and quiet instrument. You must never forget that I disapprove of quarrels and always consider that both sides are equally wrong. To surmount one's feelings, preferences, dislikes, and impulses is an indispensable discipline here. Of course, Ext told me the story in a very different way. But I am used to the fact that each one tells me things from a particular angle, the one which is most favorable to him, and I do not give much importance to that. There's only one thing I always regret: the useless quarrels that make life so difficult when, with a little mutual goodwill, everything could be settled harmoniously. Pardon and blessings are there. But one way or another, a different arrangement must be made to stop these quarrels. Love and blessings. This is a very good opportunity to test the value of the relation. You must absolutely stop all quarrels. They are harmful for the sadhana of both of you. Try your best. And if you cannot succeed, then you will have to give up the relation. In quarrels, I never interfere, because surely both are wrong. Yes, all these quarrels are a very sad thing. They interfere terribly in the work and make everything more difficult. As for ill will, jealousy, quarrels and reproaches, one must sincerely be above all that and reply with a benevolent smile to the bitterest words. And unless one is absolutely sure of himself and his reactions, it would be better, as a general rule, to keep silent. No disputes, no quarrels, the sweetness of a life without clashes. And Mother has named the flower Gloriosa Superba. No quarrels. Mother's comment. A very important condition to fulfill in order to facilitate the advent of the supermind. All quarrels proceed from egoism, which pushes its own opinion and affirms its own importance, considering that it is right and everybody else wrong, and thus creates anger and sense of injury, etc. These things must not be indulged, but rejected at once. In a general and almost absolute way, anything that shocks you in other people is the very thing you carry in yourself, in a more or less veiled, more or less hidden form, though perhaps in a slightly different guise, which allows you to delude yourself. And what in yourself seems inoffensive enough becomes monstrous as soon as you see it in others. Try to experience this. It will greatly help you to change yourselves. At the same time, it will bring a sunny tolerance to your relationship with others, the goodwill which comes from understanding, and it will very often put an end to these completely useless quarrels. One can live without quarreling. It seems strange to say this, because as things are, it would seem, on the contrary, that life is made for quarreling, in the sense that the main occupation of people who are together is to quarrel, overtly or covertly. The true divine love is above all quarrels. It is the experience of perfect union in an invariable joy and peace. In social life, in addition to the words that concern material life and occupations, there will be those that express sensations, feelings, and emotions. Here the habit of outer silence proves of valuable help. For when one is assailed by a wave of sensations or feelings, this habitual silence gives you time to reflect, and if necessary, to regain possession of yourself before projecting the sensation or feeling in words. How many quarrels can be avoided in this way? How many times one will be saved from one of those psychological catastrophes which are only too often the result of uncontrolled speech. Without going to this extreme, one should always control the words one speaks, and never allow one's tongue to be prompted by a movement of anger, violence, or temper. It is not only the quarrel that is bad in its results, but the fact of allowing one's tongue to be used to project bad vibrations in the atmosphere. For nothing is more contagious than the vibrations of sound, and by giving these movements a chance to express themselves, one perpetuates them in oneself and in others. The vital of some people calls always for disharmony, petty quarrels, and confusion. They generally have a kind of mania of persecution and believe that everybody is against them. To cure that is most difficult and requires a radical transformation of the nature. Quarrels are altogether contrary to the spirit of Aurobindo. All quarrels in the place where food is prepared make food indigestible. The cooking must be done in silence and harmony. If people are reasonable, they do not quarrel. But if they are not reasonable, they begin quarreling. Then, instead of quarreling, the best thing to do is to enter into the other's consciousness and ask yourself why he says things like that. What is it that pushes him to do this or say that? What is the inner reason? What is his vision of things which makes him take this attitude? It is extremely interesting. If you do this, immediately you stop being angry. First thing, you can no longer be angry. So this is already a great gain. But also, if the other continues being angry, it has no effect on you. And then, later, one can try to identify oneself more perfectly and prevent the movements of division and defamation and stop quarrels. Very useful.